All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College World podcast. Today, me and Nick here in our 2023 preview and prediction for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Look at this coaching staff. James Franklin is back, 78-36 record through 9 seasons, 4 11-win campaigns under his belt. Mike Yurcich enters his third season as the offensive coordinator. Emmanuel Diaz, second year in his role. The investment in James Franklin is getting closer and closer to paying off, it appears. Mel Tucker was not the only one in the Big Ten to get a massive extension at the end of the 2021 season. James Franklin also got one as well, a 10-year, $75 million deal. The one out there in East Lansing was certainly a bit of a desperation move. Some people felt the one here at Penn State was a bit of a desperation move also. But I think this is a well worth an investment, and I think this is certainly getting closer and closer to paying off. But of course, they got to get over that hurdle of Ohio State, Nick. Since 2016, the year that they really put things together, historic, crazy season in State College where they beat the Buckeyes, went to the Rose Bowl, winning the conference. It's not been that great since. They've lost 6 in a row, but they've lost all those by 13 points or less. So they're certainly hanging in there, but they have to get over the hump if they want to compete for a national championship.
They certainly have to find a way to break through that glass ceiling and complete getting over the hump. This is a very good team overall. James Franklin's a very good coach. He's really, led this team to some pretty successful seasons. Obviously, the 2016 season where they did win the Big Ten, one of the very important win in Penn State history. Right, they went to the Rose Bowl. That was Saquon Barkley's year, a big year for them. They followed that up with a second place finish in the conference division in the East. They went 11-2 that year, winning the Fiesta Bowl. 2019, they won 11-2 again. They beat Memphis in the Cotton Bowl. That was a very good game in 2022. They won the Rose Bowl just this past season after going 11-2. So obviously, there's a lot of talent here. James Franklin has won bowl games. He's led this team to some solid victories overall. He's really built this program here, similar to how he was building the program at Vanderbilt before he took this Penn State job. He definitely deserved the extension, in my opinion. I think, he's well worth the money for a program like Penn State that is such a historic program with the history of Joe Paterno, who obviously was such a long tenured coach there and dominated for so many years. James Franklin's hoping to kind of keep that sort of tradition of being a coach for a long time at a program like Penn State. They're in a good spot right now, but I think they need to use this talent this year. This is the best opportunity they're going to have to pick off Ohio State, I think, in a very long time. This roster is very talented. They got to find a way to break through.
Now, looking at this offense, it was a pretty good unit of season to go, about 36 points per game. They had great balance, too. Sean Clifford is gone, a guy who thought at times was certainly a liability for them. He definitely showed up last year against Ohio State, so credit is certainly due there. But the same couldn't be said about the Michigan game, and that was kind of the story of his career over the last 3 years. Drew Aller takes over, X5 star. There's a lot of praise coming in about this young man, 6'5", 238. That has great size, a prototypical build of a traditional pocket passer, kind of in that Will Levis range, I'd say, in terms of overall talent in comparison. Great arm. He flicks it with ease, with some elite velocity. This is a guy who has a big arm coming in with a lot of expectations. He was able to get on the field even in week 1 last year as a true freshman. So obviously they have a lot going on with him. But the biggest news here is you have a great running back trio, mainly led by this sophomore duo of Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. Singleton, the size allows him to attack the inside with confidence at 6'2", 219. Great speed on the edge, good strength and toughness. Needs to refine the rest of his game. Blocking, pass catching, and contact balance needs some improvements. But as a young runner, he certainly impressed last year. And then Allen, his co-part, showcases great leg drive, great patient, good vision, allows him to pick the right hole, very decisive in the open field, showcases plenty of pop as a physical runner. He's about 5'11", 201. And then Trey Potts comes over from Minnesota. There's no lack of options here in this backfield. You're going to pair that up again with a 5-star quarterback, Nick. This offense, I think, in terms of raw talent, they're in comparison to what they had in 2016, where it was a Saquon Barkley-led offense. But what are your thoughts on this unit where there's a lot of young guys with a lot to work with here for James Franklin and crew?
Drew Aller is a good quarterback to take over. The size on him is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. 6'5", 243, fantastic. Played in Ohio, was named Ohio Mr. Football during his high school senior season. Eventually, he started out as a 3-star when he committed to Penn State. Then he ended up rising to a 5-star. Great find by James Franklin and his recruiting company. They're fantastic for them to be able to get that and put that together. The sophomore here played a little bit at the end of the last season, played some games here and there when Clifford battled injuries. So I think he's got some experience. He's ready to go. He's comfortable in position. Very good quarterback. Like the arm strength, good size, great in the pocket, very good leader for this team. This running back room is fantastic. It's just a deep running back room. Singleton this past season at 1,061 total yards, 6.8 yards per carry, 12 scores for him. Katron Allen, he had 868 yards on the ground, 5.2 yards per carry, and 10 scores for him. Trey Potts coming over from Minnesota, a great weapon taking from the other part of the Big Ten. Very good player at Minnesota. I loved the film on him. I'm glad to see him make a move here. I think this is a good spot for Trey Potts. This is a fantastic quarterback and running back room. There's so much depth here in the running back room. He could really do a whole lot. And they also have a really, really solid freshman in Cam Wallace waiting there, a true freshman who might get some playing time later in the season. This is a very talented front part of this offense.
They lose 3 of their top 4 pass catchers. I'm not all that worried about this unit. Dante Cephas comes over from Kent State. Strong possession receiver that is dangerous in space. Good route runner. His stop and start ability makes him hard to defend off the line of scrimmage. Has shown reliable hands and some toughness at the catch point. 6'1", 86 is his listing. Keandre Lambert-Smith, great vertical speed that uses to stretch the field to make plays underneath. Harrison Wallace, 6th leading pass catcher as a 4-star redshirt freshman last fall. Malik McClain, 6'4", 202, has some size that should help him be a physical presence, but never really produced that much at Florida State. Amari Evans, he's one of the younger pieces that should see some time. And then obviously Brenton Strange, he was drafted in the 2nd round this past April. Theo Johnson, though, quietly had some good production at the tight end position, so they're not going to really struggle there, I don't think, one bit. This is a really deep offense, Nick. I think it's pretty versatile, even though the production isn't exactly evident with this receiving core. I think the addition of a veteran in Cephas, along with some of these other guys that have been in the program a couple years, I think they're going to be just fine here, especially when they have all this balance.
Dante Cephas is a great piece to add from Kent State, slotting in at that wide receiver X role. I like him a lot. Very solid player. Harrison Wallace, I like him a lot. The wide receiver Z role. Good player. He had 273 yards receiving, 14.4 yards per catch, and 1 score for him. Keandre Lambert-Smith, a good player to have in the slot. I think he's a good slot piece. You kind of move him around if you need to, but he's a good piece in the slot. 389 yards this past season, 16.2 yards per catch, and 4 scores for him. Liam Clifford as well in the slot, potentially as a backup role. Amari Evans, a good player. A lot of depth here, a lot of redshirt freshmen. So this is a good unit overall. There's a lot of depth here. Obviously they also have Theo Johnson at tight end, is a good piece to have, good experience blocker. So this is a very solid wide receiving room. I'm not really too worried about the lack of a big standout name here, because I think there's enough pieces to go around and make this work.
And speaking of big standout name, you look to the offensive line. Olu Fashanu, this is a player who's considered the top player at his position in the upcoming draft. Great rattler agility, showcases impressive strength in his lower half, allows him to anchor and pass pro. 6'8", 313, nice billing there. The high-end motor is showcased in the run game. That coincides with his range on the ground. Doesn't showcase great power in his upper half in the run game. He's far from a people mover. Big focal point is his run blocking. He certainly has the tools there to succeed. And then you look at the rest of this unit, though, it certainly needs to step up. Hunter Norzad wasn't all that great at left guard. He was banged up all year, certainly showcasing his toughness, though. He's in a slot in at center. Landon Tegwell played 5 games at right guard. He had his fair share of struggles. Sat Wormley, allowed 25 pressures. He struggled immensely in pass pro at his right guard position. Vega Ione, 6'4", 352, has plenty of upside and hype. He'll be battling for one of the guard spots. Right tackle's really up for grabs. No one really took the reins. Looks like Caden Wallace and Drew Shelton. These guys are going to battle. Caden has a leg up, while we might just see a rotational approach maybe at right tackle, Nick. Plenty of experience. The only loss was the impressive Juice Scruggs in the middle. I think we see great improvements on the offensive line. There's plenty of veterans here. And, of course, you have that first-round talent anchoring the left side. What are your thoughts on this unit that could certainly take them a long way in the Big Ten? You need a strong physical offensive front, and I think they're certainly working towards that.
This is a unit that does need to improve a little bit here, but there is a nice core here they're working with. Fashanu, fantastic left tackle, great player, going to be a high prospect in the NFL draft. The size there, fantastic. 6'8", 313, incredible size, really strong player. Good in the run block, which I think is really key considering the type of talent they have at running back. Lizardo at center is a good piece to have. Caden Wallace, I'm a little worried him at right tackle, but I think he's got the leg up here. He could definitely figure out and work out some of those kinks. Sal Wormley as well, good player at right guard. I think he's going to help out, kind of balance out the sort of the letdown from Wallace, so to speak. This is a good unit overall. I think they're going to step up this year and improve. I need to see that, certainly, but I think this is a good unit. There's a lot of good pieces here.
I'm going to go with an A- overall. Like you said about the receiving group, solid and, experienced group altogether, but there really is no standout. Cephas is expected to fill that role. Comes over from the MAC, though, so that's certainly going to be a question mark. I love what they have at quarterback. I think Aller is going to be a star. I think they're very excited for him. Again, a Will Levis-type player. Deep backfield, probably one of the best in the nation. And the offensive line, of course, I think they're going to continue to make strides. So A- for me, as long as the areas that need to improve certainly do showcase some improvement, Nick. I think they're going to be well on track to being an offense that really dominates this conference this year.
If this offensive line can step up and be really dominant, like I think they can, this is certainly an A offense for me. There's a lot of talent here. James Franklin has built together a good offense with great recruiting here. I think it's a good unit overall. A lot of talent here, top to bottom. Like I said, the wide receiver room doesn't have that standout player, but I think it's a lot of good bit pieces that can work there. And then you added Trey Potts to the running back room that was already really solid in Allen and Singleton, a very underrated room, plus Cam Wallace, a freshman that could potentially get involved. This is a very good unit, certainly, and I like to see what they can do this year.
Now going to have the defensive side of the ball. This is a really strong unit for the Nittany Lions a season ago. Only 2 adds in the portal. I'd like to see them add another linebacker. Glad they added an extra defensive tackle with Alonzo Ford from Old Dominion. He was a really good run defender. The rest of this defensive line, I think, is a pretty deep unit. Chop Robinson is expected to be one of the top pass rushers in the nation this season with good length. He's an explosive mover with nice body control, impressive dip. Converts speed to power very well. 6'3", 239, has the leg drive you want, and a physical edge rusher. Tends to play too high. And the motor certainly wavers at times. Next to him, Dennis Sutton, coming off the other side. 5-star coming out of high school, strong football IQ, showcased being an agile, physical athlete this past season in his true freshman season. He also showcases into pretty nice dip. I thought he shined in his limited snaps as a pass rusher. A little bit bigger at 6'5", 253. Look at the interior. Isaac, 6'4", 243, showcased some flashes off the edge. Eamon Vanover, he was also really efficient. Some nice rotation, I think, from the defensive end position this year, Nick. Replacing P.J. Mustafa, though, on the interior D-line is a big question mark. Keziah Izzard, his impact wasn't really felt on the stat sheet, but he provided good distribution, or disruption, that is, in the games he played. 6'3", 292 from him. Hakeem Beeman certainly doesn't have the greatest of size. He's 264, only 6'3". He was pretty inconsistent. So is Devon Ellies and Zane Durant. Those guys are going to push him for playing time on the interior. I think overall this is a unit that's got plenty of experience, and I think they got some good playmaking. I think this pass rush is really going to impress this season. Some question marks up the middle, but I'm not too worried about it, Nick. Look at the game last year against Michigan. I felt they weren't going to do very good against the run, but they have 418 yards. That is absurd. They didn't give up over 200 yards any other time that year. It was a complete outlier against Michigan. The Wolverines flat out dominated them. They looked really good the rest of the season, even against Ohio State, allowing only 98 yards on the ground in that road game. This is a run defense I think was very impressive last year, Nick, but that one blemish right there, that was really disgusting to watch there for in Ann Arbor that day.
This is certainly a good unit here on the front part of this defense. Chop Robinson, great player, 26 total tackles this past season, 10 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks for him. Devon Ellis, good player, 24 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss for him. I like what he can do. Hakeem Beeman, very good player at left defensive tackle, 16 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss. For him, Ades's Isaac, he's got good numbers as well. He had 28 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss, plus 4 sacks for him. Look at a guy like Amon Vanover as well, underrated piece on this team. He has 16 total tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, plus a sack for him. And you got Izzard as well, who's short down bottom of the depth chart. He played 9 games. He had 10 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. It's a very good unit here. I think they stopped the run well. Like you said, pretty solid against the run pretty much in every game except for the one against Michigan, where that was kind of really an outlier for this team. But that is a very talented running back room you're looking at. Against the rush yards per game, they're 45th in the country. They can certainly get that higher. This is a very good unit here that I think has a lot of talent.
The linebacking core last year coming into the season, we were concerned about it. Wasn't very impressive with what they had. Jonathan Sutherland, for example, had the transition from safety down to this area because they just didn't have too many bodies. And then they ended up proving us wrong, I'd say, for the most part. Veterans Curtis Jacobs and now Abdul Carter, who's really a veteran at this point, both provide plenty of explosiveness and athletic ability in the middle. And Carter was a true freshman a season ago, and he was all around a great defender for them. Made waves when rushing, was a stout run defender. He really, allowed this linebacking core to avoid a lot of pain last year. I thought Nick Abdul Carter was phenomenal for them. Tyler Eldston wasn't all that great as a middle linebacker. Only 44 tackles. Needs to showcase improvement and more of an enforcer mindset. He did miss the spring, so Kobe King got some reps in the middle. Was worried about this position last year. Coming into 2023, not one bit. I think they're going to do very fine here in the middle behind what's a very impressive D-line. I think overall James Franklin's very happy with his front seven.
I do apologize. I meant to say they were 17th against the run and defense this past season. This linebacking core is very solid. I like this Abdul Carter as a sophomore. Really showed out as a true freshman. One of the better true freshman linebackers in the country, if not the best, depending on who you ask. Carter, very talented player. 56 total tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks for him. Kind of a do-it-all player. Really gets after the ball. I like that a lot. Tyler Elsden, good player as well. 44 total tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, plus a sack for him. Curtis Jacobs, I like him a lot too. 52 total tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks for him. So these guys all get after the quarterback. They get in the backfield. This is a good unit here that's only going to get better with experience. They also have some decent depth as well. Some good freshmen coming in, some true freshmen. So overall, it's a very talented linebacking core. I like what they've done.
Now you look at the secondary, a lot of people thought this was the nation's top unit a season ago, and that's not going to change this year. Kalen King, he doesn't have elite speed or the smoothest transitions, but he has fluid hips, great instincts. He's a very good processor who's patient and elite ball skills. I mean, the amount of pass breakups he had last year was quite staggering, Nick. 18 of them along with 3 interceptions. He was alongside Joey Porter, who's now in the NFL, so they had the top cornerback tandem from last year. Johnny Dixon, he's likely going to occupy the other cornerback spot. He had 10 pass breakups, despite being not as great as these other two in coverage from a consistency standpoint. Daquan Hardy, he's going to provide some reliable depth. Cam Miller got on the field a tad bit. The transfer Storm Duck was supposed to be big, but he ended up transferring just a little bit ago after coming over from North Carolina. Not sure what that was about. Davion Collins, he transfers to Penn State instead, but he has no stats on defense, so we'll see if he has any role here in the secondary. Johnny Dixon, again, I think is going to be a great player for them. Great cornerback tandem. You look at the safety position. I think things even get better here. Jair Brown departs. Keaton Ellis was a veteran. He really struggled in key components, though. Jalen Reed was much better as a tackler and against the run, but wasn't by a wide margin. I'd say the backups here is Zakee Wheatley, a highly talented player who at some point I think cracked the starting lineup, and then Kevin Winston. He was also highly impressive, showcased some strong tackling abilities. I think those two guys right there, Wheatley and Winston, are likely going to end up being the starters here at safety. Love this secondary. I'm not sure if it's going to be quite as good as last year because the loss of Joey Porter definitely stings. They're also able to gain a lot of experience here, so that's one of the beneficiaries. 46 against the pass. We expect that number to be within the top 25, I would expect. What are your thoughts on this back end?
Certainly a good unit here. There's a lot of good pieces that I like here a lot. Kalen King, fantastic player, 30 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, the 18 pass breakups. It's just a ridiculous number when you really think about it. One of the best true corners in the nation. I like Keaton Ellis as well. I think he's a prime for a good season. 24 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 7 pass breakups for him. Jalen Reed as well, very solid piece. 31 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss for him. Johnny Dixon, I'm a little higher on him than you are. I think he's got great potential. He had 10 pass breakups this past season, 23 total tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. He's a good player to have in your roster. I think he's going to slot in there perfectly and kind of fill that hole that is left from the departing Porter. Dakeem Hardy as well at nickelback, good player. 13 total tackles for him. He had an interception and 4 pass breakups. This is a deep unit, very balanced unit. The depth in the backups is great as well. There's a lot of depth here, a lot of deep talent. This is a very good secondary to round off a very good defense.
They had 14 interceptions, 26 total turnovers forced. I couldn't really find much flaws with this defense. That's why I just put the biggest thing needs to improve is they just really need to slow down Ohio State and Michigan. That's where the problem's going to lie. I think that's what can be said for every team in this conference is if you want to win, you got to slow these guys down on offense. They gave up 563 against Michigan and against Ohio State 452, but they did perform pretty admirably on the run. Really let that one get away from them in that brisk October day in State College. There's no real big needs with this defense, Nick. I think this is an A unit. Not going to give it the A+ just yet, but I definitely think they're trending in that direction. They just need to slow down the Buckeyes and the Wolverines. If they can do that, they're going to be probably national champions.
So certainly an A unit, very talented top to bottom. I love this defense. There's so much talent here. The secondary is fantastic. Expecting to step up and be a top 20 defense in terms of secondary, in terms of pass yards in the country. This is a great unit overall. This is a very good way to round out what is a really solid Penn State team here.
Look at the schedule preview and prediction. The offense appears to be one of the most talented under James Franklin. The 2016 was certainly more talented, but the expectation is this one will deliver and produce like that one did. The offensive line has some nice pieces to shore together, but the backfield and receiving group certainly checks the boxes to compete. It'll be on the shoulders of a former 5-star quarterback in Drew Aller. The defense has all the muscle to win in the front seven, to take down the greats, while the secondary may find a way to be better than it was in 2022. Teams like this are why we love college football, Nick. Very excited to see Penn State this season. I have them going 11-1. I think week 3 against Illinois on the road is going to be a very interesting game. I do think they'll beat Michigan at home November 11th. I unfortunately had the Wolverines, who are probably the most talented team in the conference, not making it to the levels of Ohio State or Penn State. I have them at 10-2. I do have them losing to the Buckeyes, who will win the conference. But it's going to be a big game there in Columbus. That's going to decide things in the Big Ten. Very excited for this football team.
It's a very talented team, top to bottom. I like this schedule a lot. It's a very interesting game on here at Illinois in September. Very difficult game at Ohio State. Obviously, that's the one blemish on the schedule from you and I. I think that Ohio State does knock them off. I think that's the best team pound for pound in this conference overall. I like the schedule. Michigan at home, not a bad draw there, certainly. They host West Virginia early on NBC primetime. Very interesting game. Kind of an underrated week 1 matchup. I like that at a conference game. I think it's very good scheduling. I know West Virginia is kind of a mess right now, but it's a good matchup at home, primetime. Should be a fun, loud atmosphere, certainly at Beaver Stadium. at Michigan State to end the season at Ford Field in Detroit. Kind of like that indoors, negates the weather issue that potentially there. Interesting game to have on November 24th. I like that a lot. Kind of a cool little kind of move that matchup a little bit. I like that a lot. This is a very interesting schedule top to bottom, not too tough in non-conference, but adds the right number of pieces there overall. I think this is a good schedule for James Franklin and co. This team will be in a New Year's Six bowl. They'll be in a very talented bowl. They'll be in the Rose Bowl. More than likely than not, that's got to be the bowl game, I think, for me here, which they won last year. They like to go back-to-back, certainly, and get another Rose Bowl to add to that trophies collection.
That Black Friday game against Michigan State in Ford Field, certainly interesting. I believe that game a couple years ago was filled with snow, so I think that's maybe why they moved it to a dome. It's going to be a bit of a cakewalk there for them, especially if they punch their ticket to the Big Ten title game. That's going to be for today's episode. As always, Nick, I appreciate you joining me. Had a lot of fun here sitting and discussing the Nittany Lions. Very excited for James Franklin's crew.
Very excited for this team. I feel like they're not getting enough love in college football right now. Very talented team top to bottom, and they can certainly go out and win this conference and play in the playoff. It's very possible. If there's a year to do it, this is going to be the year. They got to find a way to knock off Michigan and Ohio State. Two tough draws, certainly. They get Michigan at home, lucky, but traveling to Columbus is a very difficult trip to make. I wouldn't want to travel to Beaver Stadium this year. It's going to be loud all year. That fan base, rambunctious, and very excited for the fall.
Certainly can't wait. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.